hides behind the cross. All that glitters is not gold. A dictator hides behind democracy. Freedom comes only from the soul. Behold, in the distance, the golden serpent slithers out of its hiding place with grace. The sweet taste on its forked tongue of freedom's distant march of boot embrace. The ground quakes, twigs break as unified boots advance, not by chance, agitating the cadence of nature's dance. The clamor of feet approaches, stirs rabbits to roaches, as the serpent lays in wait for its chance to feast. Slowly it encroaches.
Look how beautiful.
Oh my God! What do you think?
I think we couldn't afford to rent a closet in this place.
Good afternoon. The resident manager handles the day-to-day running of the Drake apartments.
Are you sure this is our apartment? Yeah, it comes with the job.
What happened to the previous manager?
Yeah, why would anybody ever want to leave this?
Mr. Hartwell moved someplace warmer.
Now sign the contracts and get out of here. You got a lot of work to do.
The Drake.
It's a friendly building.
But don't let the amenities fool you.
I like a spirit.
She's how we get Henry.
It's not right what you do.
What I do is fulfill needs. We all want something. It's the essential truth of who we are. Now it's time to settle up.
This place seems so dark.
You shouldn't have come here. They're never gonna let you go.
Henry, are we gonna be okay here?
Lucifer, son of the morning, I'm gonna chase you out of earth.
I remember back in 2016 doing some research on candidate Trump and coming across this building with the unmistakable address in New York, which at the time was listed as the most expensive real estate purchase in history. And it was currently owned by Jared Kushner and his wife, Ivanka Trump. So immediately I assumed Trump must be a silent partner, or at best be aware. I took a look at the building on Google Street View and noticed immediately that the building was by no means the largest or grandest in New York. In fact, it seemed to me that there was no way a 41-story building could be the most expensive purchase in history, and assumed there had to be something deeper to it. On Street View, I looked inside and around the building and noticed a human-sized golden statue that on Street View was placed in front of the building. I had never seen the statue before, so I stared at it for a few seconds, and just like a revelation, I don't know, the thought just came to my mind exactly stated as golden statue of Lucifer fallen. I typed that into Google, and the screen was filled with images of the same statue, so I knew the thought or the inspiration was correct. I took screenshots and immediately started trying to warn, everyone I could, in real life and online, about Trump's familial association with the building. I left comments everywhere, but in less than 2 weeks I went to look at the Street View again and realized Google had completely removed that view of the building. Now in Street View would completely skip over that entire side of the building and zoom across to the next building over. I searched for golden statue of Lucifer and found only 1 or 2 images now, way down in the image results. Went back and searched for my comments and realized I couldn't find them on YouTube and Facebook anymore. That was the revelation to me that Trump was meant to win. Jugu could have ended his political career right there with that information I was spreading on their platform. But instead, they chose to shadow ban me and remove the Street View and image results. But I still had my screenshots, and of course it came as no surprise to me finding out not long after that his entire cabinet was filled with Zionists. I told every Trump supporter I met along the way, especially the religious, supposedly religious ones, that their new hero, just like George Bush, was a Sith or just another Bohemian Grove necromonger for money. Anyway, just a little lost history that hopefully doesn't get trapped down the memory hole. What happens to a man who lays in a coffin or sarcophagus with the skeleton of a deceased person as an initiation rite? What about a man who swears allegiance over all else upon the knowledge of pain of torturous death to an organization or cult, especially one with the name and moniker of Skull and Bones, the very symbol of pain, hazard, destruction, and death, or Illuminati, which literally translated from Latin actually means no light or darkness? Wouldn't such a man invite demons, or perhaps the very devil itself, to take harbor, manifest, and be birthed into the dock of his spirit or soul? What would engender a man to take such oaths, to swear such allegiances? Is it money? Is it the salve of promised power and privilege as opposed to the salve of promised salvation fed to the proletariat or pros? Is it perhaps simply an emergent, base, and animalistic worldview that survival should only be granted to the fittest or the most cunning? Of course, such organizations can always appear to be the fittest because they are willing to resort to any means, including genocide, to consolidate and acquire power. And they have survived and even thrived for so long, right? Does it simply represent a hidden or repressed desire and yearning for the macabre and mystically dark that all or most humans have tendencies towards? With these men simply being chosen by an already established and powerful order, which the rest of us, given the choice and possibilities, would also succumb to and then willingly follow? Why do men separate themselves from the general social fabric, placing themselves and their progeny at the highest ranks of the social order, reserving the right to resort to any means necessary to protect that position where the choices can only amount to the lesser of evils? As Solon, JFK, and Bob Marley said, what does it really profit someone to gain the world but lose their soul?
Magic City, and the sun has the darkness on the run. It's growing bright, the city, light the city, right the city now. We're going to chase the shadows, erase the shadows from our city now. All that stood is falling fast, we're removing from the past. It's growing bright, the city, light the city, right the city now. We're going to chase the shadows, erase the shadows, no more shadows now. We'll take a city block and tear it down. We'll put a new skyscraper in the ground.
Hey, who's that?
Aluminum workers in Louisville.
Oh, thanks, Mr. DeSimone.
You know, this building was built all over the country.
Places like Chicago, Detroit, Bethlehem, Portland.
Hey, what, dames?
Sure, Murphy. A lot of women helped on this one. Contractors came in with their estimates. Subcontractors for every single part of the job.
Then it was time for some choices. What kind of interiors? Samples. What kind of exteriors? Every detail was worked out to the decimal before you men ever heard of the job. Then the old buildings were torn down. And one day we began to dig. Boy, that's one big hole.
40 feet deep.
Largest excavation ever dug on Fifth Avenue. You really gotta dig.
You gotta dig way down, 40 feet down. You gotta dig way down below the ground. You gotta blast that bedrock out of your way before you start to climb. You gotta dig that way.
You gotta fill those forms with strong concrete. You gotta put that building on its feet. You gotta pour those columns tall and strong. If you're gonna climb, you gotta fill those forms. It takes a lot of men, a lot of time to put a scraper in the sky.
It takes a lot of men, a lot of time to build up to the sky. It takes a lot of loads, a lot of miles. Put that scraper high, lot of loads, lot of miles, 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 lot of loads, lot of loads.
And that building came alive. It takes steam valves, steam fitters, air fans, fan makers, water falling elevators, buttons, panels, switchboard cables, copper buckets, nails, plumbers, plaster trucks, pails, ships, sailors, architects, steel, iron, aluminum, bells, rivets, telephones, drills, wires, engineers, sand painters, blueprints, stone, masons, concrete, glass, gravel, steam, shovels, trains, trailers, train men, winches, welders, steel men, drivers, riggers, draftsmen, scrapers, shiners, sanders, sweepers, handlers, holders, mixers, shifters, heavers, fillers, bracers, borers, loaders, lifters, pushers, pullers, pilers, packers, nailers, diggers, builders, busters, boxers, plasters, TNT. So today, 18 months from the time ground was broken, the building opens. More than 2 million people have worked directly or indirectly on it. More than 2,000 men have been involved in the actual job. These people come from every state in the country.
Jared Kushner, his big pet project was that 666 Fifth Avenue, that big office tower. He was going to tear it down, build something new, and he had to do a deal, basically, that gave it away.
Right, and so to give viewers a little background, I mean, this is an iconic building in New York. You know, in a city of iconic buildings, I mean, this is one that people walk along or walk past on Fifth Avenue. There's retail in the bottom, and then it's notably, you know, it's a nice skyscraper and a name that, or an address that is memorable, we should say. They had big plans for it. Jared Kushner's really ambitious project. It did not go the way that they thought it would. They were partnered with Vornado, and now to the rescue, and this, to me, is what's really notable, to the rescue, and probably to the profit of its investors, is Brookfield.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder, Brookfield is one of the probably least appreciated and most powerful investment firms in the entire world. You know, we talk a lot about Blackstone. Brookfield is right there as a real estate manager. Bruce Flatt, the CEO, is incredibly powerful, incredibly influential, and little known.
Before he was a presidential candidate.
I've been saying for years, keep the oil, don't let him have the oil.
Before he was a reality TV star.
You're fired.
Donald Trump was a New York tabloid fixture. All through the 1980s, Trump was busy building something new, and it wasn't a skyscraper.
Billionaire developer Donald Trump has put his name on a New York City hotel, shopping center, and apartment buildings, as well as a casino in Atlantic City. And now he's going to put his name on a big piece of Eastern Airlines.
Trump was creating a public persona, one that could be both funny and demeaning, arrogant and somehow in touch with the common man.
I sort of love and hate him at the same time. I mean, I think he has, a monumental ego.
He comes off as being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Arrogant?
Yeah, he's arrogant.
I like him. The man's got it made, got everything.
He often did this by picking fights.
He said, I think Donald Trump is an artful liar. I think he is a greedy, vicious, and arrogant man.
Well, I don't know, is that supposed to be a compliment or not? I'm not sure.
But the Donald Trump we know today is more than just a boastful brawler. That's because there's one more tactic that Trump apparently learned in the 80s and uses to great effect on the campaign trail today. Keep people guessing about any long-term plans.
Mr. Trump, what's left in your life? You're 33 years old, you're worth all this money. You say you didn't say that you want to be worth $1 billion.
No, I really don't. I just want to keep busy and keep active.
Could $1 billion buy the White House?
What do you think?
Well,
Does
I don't
money
think it
give
can.
you...
I know a lot of the politicians. I like a lot of the politicians. They're friends of mine.
Trump carefully cultivated speculation about his future. In 1987, he ran a full-page ad in major newspapers that read like a political manifesto.
If you didn't know by now, all U.S. presidents are royalty. Descended from royalty, they're all part of the same family. And they only put cousins against each other. So basically, two royal bloodlines compete against each other to be selected in your so-called elections. And you guys keep participating, even though all the evidence is right there on Google and wherever else you want to look. But yeah, they're all cousins, they're all related, and no, you're not related to them. No, they're related to each other. Yeah, they're one bloodline. They all come from Vlad the Impaler and King whoever, King James maybe. But either way, they're also all Jewish. I'm not sure exactly where that part comes in. I guess it's just a financial thing, but you know, the bankers for royalty type thing. So it's like a religion for them. But yeah, they're all basically sworn. They have their oath of loyalty that they swear to, you know, their peoples. Nothing to do with you guys. In case you have any doubts about the loyalty oaths. I mean, maybe you should have saw that in the news already as well, but yeah, there's a bunch of stories about that where all members of Congress had to swear an oath of loyalty, not to the Constitution, but to Israel. And, Congress people like Cynthia McKinney were basically vilified and ostracized because she didn't want to do that. So when fake Pharisee patriots talk about bravery, I just have to laugh. And no, he's not coming to save you either. Yeah, he's one of them, as you see. Maternally, just like your hero Hitler, or some of you guys is a hero. Yeah, it's all one big plan, and you're all pawns and pros and playing your roles. Wake up. Wake up. In case you're wondering where this all comes from, the whole 666 thing, it's from this Star of David thing. Yeah, 6 triangles, 6 angles, 6 sides. It's basically the hexagon. It's all tied to Saturn and hexagon / black cube worship. People knew this from a long time ago, obviously. This is nothing new. It's not NASA that found out there was a hexagon on Saturn. People have been worshipping that black cube for eons. As a side note, I did make a scientific discovery about this hexagon / black cube on Saturn, and it is basically a shadow, a cymatic caudacaustic shadow or reflection of the rings themselves. So these people have been worshipping shadows like the allegory in the cave, like slaves.
To get away, climbing on top of others, leading to some people suffocating. We saw some terrible images, Jonathan, of bodies, dozens and dozens of bodies, some piled on top of each other. We also saw some first responders trying to come to the rescue of pilgrims, trying to save lives there on the spot.
And why do regular average people do these strange things with such conviction? Yes, that was a view of Saturn spinning counterclockwise, and people are fully possessed by its power, even though it's just an illusion, it's just a shadow. They're fully possessed by what you call hysteria and groupthink. But anyway, let's get back to the topic, 666.
Most Christians believe that the Judaism of the Old Testament is very similar to Judaism today. Yet the Jewish Encyclopedia, in its article on Judaism, says modern Judaism and the Judaism of the Old Testament are very different. It says that after Nebuchadnezzar conquered Judah in the 6th century BC and led the Jews to distant Babylon, the Jews were faced with challenges to their faith they had never before experienced. Ever since the time of Solomon, the religion of Israel had centered around the magnificent temple in Jerusalem with its sacrifices and rituals. The question now became, how could one be a true Jew in a very foreign, even hostile environment? the need arose for a certain class of lay priests called scribes or sophorim to interpret the law in this new setting and make it workable. In time, these scribes became what the New Testament calls the scribes and Pharisees, the greatest legal authorities of Israel for all ages. The Pharisees said there were really two inspired revelations to the Jews. There was the written law of Moses received atop Sinai, but there was also the oral tradition acquired by 70 elders who came to the base of the mountain but were forbidden to proceed farther. The Pharisees said that these 70 elders, or Sanhedrin, received a much more extensive and profound revelation than Moses, a revelation which was never written down, yet took precedent over the written law. When Jesus came on the scene, his reaction was to bitterly denounce this counterfeit tradition. Christ said the Pharisees, by their tradition, had made the law of God of none effect. He considered the Pharisees the most dangerous leadership Israel ever had. The Talmud confirms Christ's words. In the Talmud, in Treatise Sanhedrin, an extensive passage describes the right of the Pharisee to kill anyone, just as long as he did so indirectly. As one of dozens of examples, the Talmud tells us that if one bound his neighbor and he died of starvation, he is not liable to execution. In such an indirect manner, the Pharisees also killed Christ. Manipulating the Romans to actually wield the spear and sword, the Pharisees claimed, as their descendants do today, that since the Romans were the direct cause of the death of Christ, it is the Romans, not the Jews, who are guilty. Christ also called the Pharisees adulterers, an adulterous generation. The Talmud provides generous loopholes for adultery. It says the penalty for adultery does not include sex with a minor, the wife of a minor, or the wife of a heathen. The Talmud also encourages seduction of unwed adolescent girls called designated bondmaids. But it's important how such rapes are performed. With the designated bondmaid, one is guilty only in the case of natural connection, but not in the case of perverse connection. The Pharisees reasoned that rape in a perverted manner is outside the jurisdiction of the law. Normal rape, however, was punishable. In Babylon, sexual perversion of every kind had been a way of life for millenniums. The Pharisees were deeply influenced by such practices. In one of dozens of endorsements of child sex, Simeon ben Yochai said, "A proselyte under the age of 3 years and a day is permitted to marry a priest." Agreeing with ben Yochai, the great Rabbah said, "When a grown-up man has intercourse with a little girl, it is nothing, for when the girl is less than this, 3 years and a day, it is as if one put the finger into the eye." The footnote to this passage says, "As tears come to the eye again and again, so does virginity come back to the little girl under 3 years." The same section confirms that sexual activity with small boys is in the same category. The intercourse of a small boy is not regarded as a sexual act.
The next guest was used also in worshiping the devil, participated in human sacrifice rituals and cannibalism. She says her family has been involved in rituals for generations. She is currently in extensive therapy, suffers from multiple personality disorder, meaning she's blocked out many of the terrifying and painful memories of her childhood. Meet Rachel, who is also in disguise to protect her identity. You come from generations of ritualistic abuse?
Yes, my family has an extensive family tree, and they keep track of who's been involved and who hasn't been involved. And it's gone back to, like, 1700.
And so you were...
Right. I was born into a family that believes in this.
And does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl?
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? And so who knows about it? Lots of people now.
I talked to a police detective in the Chicago area, and several of my friends know, and I've spoke publicly before.
So what kinds of things? You don't have to give us the gory details, but what kinds of things went on in the family?
Well, there would be rituals in which babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to,
Whose babies?
There were people who bred babies in their family. No one would know about it. A lot of people were overweight, so you couldn't tell if they were pregnant or not. Or they would supposedly go away for a while and then come back. The other thing I want to point out, not all Jewish people sacrifice babies. I mean, no, that's not a very cool thing. I just want to point that out.
This is the first time I heard of any Jewish people sacrificing babies. But anyway, so you witnessed the sacrifice.
Right. When I was very young, I was forced to participate in that, in which I had to sacrifice an infant.
And the purpose of sacrifice is to what? Is to bring you what? What are you sacrificing for?
For power.
Uh-huh. Power. And so, were you ever used? Were you ever used yourself?
I was molested. I was raped several times.
Mm-hmm. And what's your mother doing?
She's
in all of this. What's her role in all of this?
I'm not exactly what her role is. I haven't, recovered all of my memories, but her family was extremely involved.
Mm-hmm.
She brought me to it. Both of my parents brought me to it.
And where is she now?
She lives in the Chicago metropolitan area. She's on the Human Relations Commission of the town that she lives in, and she's an upstanding citizen. Nobody would suspect her. There's a book that I had just come across called Lilith's Cave, which is a book of Jewish mysticism and supernatural, and there's a lot in that book that relates to what I endured when I was a child.
Side note, there is definitely a link between Satanism and Zionism. You'll find out with the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey.
LaVey.
Don't be afraid. This is not a recruitment film for Satanism. You're either a real Satanist, a true Satanist, or not. And if you are, you were born that way.
In nomine Satanae Lucifer Excelsis, in the name of our great God, Satan Lucifer, I command thee to come forth and bestow these blessings upon us. Bow down, I am the Emperor of Dreams. I crown thee with the million-colored sun of secret worlds incredible, and take their trailing skies for vestment. When I soar, throned on the mounting zenith, and illume the spaceward flown horizons infinite. Like rampant monsters roaring for their glut, the fiery crested oceans rise and rise, by jealous moons maleficently urged to follow me forever.
I would like to take another moment for a prayer. The golden gates of hell stay open night and day. Smooth is the descent and easy the way. Wicked hearts fill minds with twisted words tongues say. By their actions they are judged. Still the complicit do not budge, While demons all around are fighting for control, the devil may take my life, but it will never take my soul. Amen.
All right, dear. Look, no. Go on. Take a look. See how beautiful you are? See? What's up? It's us, man! Man, open the door. Open the door, man. There. Open the door, man. There.